Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of ZoomZoomers. The UK is still under lockdown. It's the 1st of February 2021, and we're now going to let all the guys in. So those of you who've seen this before know how this goes. Apologies if there's any bad language. I can see a few guys in there already, so I'm just going to let those in. Until then, until they come in, hopefully you'll all be watching along on YouTube, watching along back. We can now see Neil, we can see Lewis, see a few more people in the. Hi, Lewis, you're right. In the wings here. Lewis, I think you're on mute at the moment, but can you guys hear me?
I am indeed on mute. It's been that long.
It has been a while, isn't it? It has been a while. There are a few more people joining us, but we have, obviously, you can see there's a new face here, which we'll introduce in just a moment as well. I don't know if this is just technical issues. I can see 5 people coming in, but they're just not flying in at the same time. Chris, I can see Naomi. Here we go. Cammie, Richard, Simon. Brilliant. Good to go. It's what it is, isn't it? It is. I can see a few more people here. I'll admit those, but as I'm admitting people, if we could just go round and you can tell me your name and your Twitter handle. We'll start with Near, please.
Near Kahn, Near_Kahn on Twitter, and I'm a vehicle designer.
Excellent. Thanks, Near. And Lewis.
My name's Lewis. I'm on Twitter at These Old Cars, and I'm a freelance motoring journalist.
Thank you, Lewis. Richard.
Hello, I'm Rich Gooding. I'm a freelance motoring writer and graphic designer, and on Twitter I'm at richgooding.com.
Thank you. Cammie.
Hello. My Twitter username is Cammie Racing, and I'm an esports racer with Fordzilla.
Excellent. Thank you. Naomi.
Hello, I'm Naomi Panter, at Naomi Panter on Twitter, and I'm the co-founder of a motorsport consultancy called Navigate.
Great stuff. Chris.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Hughes. My Twitter handle is at Chris H Drives. I am the Peugeot Sport Club marketing and PR person, social media hound, automotive dog's body for hire, and Caterham 7 fan.
Yeah, we get anyone who knows you on Facebook sees there's a lot of catering content on there. Simon, could I take your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Hi there, I'm Simon Browse. I'm a vintage car restorer, and my Twitter handle and everything else is at SciBrowse.
Excellent, thank you. Ian.
Hi, Ian Cook from Pop Band Colour, artist and creative, and I'm sat in my car because the internet's better in here.
What a weird world we live in. The internet is better in your car. Is this the car that's the studio?
Yeah, it's a car studio, but randomly the spare room, the room upstairs, the signal's worse, so it's easier to sit in the car outside, and it's better internet out here.
Right, fantastic. And we'll also notice we have a new face amongst us here. So labelled here in front of us as Fox Georgiou. Could you just let us know your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Yeah, I don't know how to change my Zoom name. Oops. My name's Beth Georgiou, but my Twitter handle is Fox Georgiou, so it's probably easier anyway to find me. And I am a sporting director of ERA Championship, which is a electric single-seater junior Formula Series.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll ask you a bit more about that because it's an exciting new thing that's come along.
Yeah.
Off the back of a lot of a buzz about electric vehicles, motorsport. People are desperate for motorsport at the moment. I know Lewis probably isn't because you're not really a motorsport person, but well, I don't know. Yeah, I've got a Corvette, so but we'll have a chat about that in just a moment. But we'll go through because actually, speaking of motorsport, Cammie, you've been racing again this week. Gone, and you're racing again on Friday.
That's right.
And you got a mouthful, so that's why I'm coming to you.
You just got me when I put a custard cream in my mouth. Yeah.
Other biscuits are available unless you want to sponsor Cammie for her motorsport. But yeah, how did it go? Yeah, there was well, I suppose it went okay, didn't it? All in all.
Yeah, it was a tough race. Any race that Jenson Button and Seb Prio crash out of, but you survive, you have to think, well, you've done quite well. They all put it in the barriers. So, yes.
You tried to put it in the barriers as well at one point, didn't you?
I got close, yeah. And the signage on the wall was really appropriate. So,
yeah, there are videos online. But this time around, so that was at Adelaide, the old Adelaide Street Circuit that used to be in the F1 Canada back in the 90s. But is it a different one, is it?
The short Clipsal 500 Adelaide.
Right, okay.
Which was really horrible for us because we couldn't get up to speed.
Because of the car you drive, or was
because of the car we drive? It was constant second gear brake, so we couldn't make the most of our car's top end speed.
Oh, okay. So is your car going to perform better at the next round at Imola, is it? Or
Much
Monza?
better, yeah.
Imola, okay.
Anything less than a victory and I'll be upset.
Okay, so street circuit's not your thing.
Not this one, not in this car.
Okay,
But I do love them.
fair enough. You do love them. Okay, and Beth, with ERA Championship, is that going to be follow the Formula E lead and be looking at street circuits, or what kind of circuits are we expecting to see these cars?
No, we're looking at traditional racing circuits, actually. A few reasons. Cost, we're a junior Formula Series, so we're not talking teams and racing drivers with like huge budgets to race. And also we're seeing a demand for circuits to actually start embracing electric cars, especially because of the noise restrictions. We're actually based in Belgium, and our headquarters is 15 minutes away from Circuit Zolder, and they're running a few noise weekends really a year and a few days a year. So that rest of the time they have like cycling on the circuit, which is a little bit sad for a racing circuit, right?
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of demand for circuits, for experienced cars and for motorsport to have some kind of quiet things. So that's kind of really positive. So that's where we're headed at the moment anyway. Wouldn't say no to a street circuit, but
Okay. So is the calendar firming up, or what sort of what's the state of play at the moment?
yeah, so we've got some exciting announcements coming soon, and I'm not allowed to say anything yet, so it's a bit depressing. But we're starting to firm up a new calendar and also our plans for next year as well. So there's going to be a lot. We've signed up to do a lot more than I thought we were going to do, but it's good. It's going to be really good. I think like change is coming in a big way. When you start to see stuff happening in the grassroots and junior motorsport, you know that something exciting is happening, in my opinion anyway. So.
Oh, absolutely. And how can people keep track of all this on social media? I guess there's what's the website to look out for?
Yeah, erachampionship.com, and then I think all the social media handles are just ERA Championship. You can follow me as well, but I'm not promising that I'm going to be useful.
I'm sure we will anyway. But we just see LA has joined us as well. So LA, we were just doing the introductions there, and Beth's there's coming from a new championship, the ERA Championship. Could you let us know your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Yes, I'm LA Wilshaw, and my Twitter handle is @1_LA. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you, LA. What have you been up to this week? Well, this month, I suppose. It's been nearly, was it 3 weeks?
One day. It's been 1 day this month.
Yeah.
What have I been up to today? Okay. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? A couple of articles, we're just kind of getting back into the swing of things now. The Formula 2 season's about to start, and I'm also involved, I don't know to expand on this later or what, but with Formula 1 and Motorsport UK, which is a series of interview sessions with the females of Formula 1, and that actually started tonight with Rosanna Tennant kicking things off, and I'm tomorrow night, and then I've got another couple of ladies, Alexa Quinton from Formula 2 later on in the month. So yeah, that's sort of keeping me busy really, because I'm receiving a little bit of information about these ladies and obviously trying to do a bit of research so I can ask appropriate questions, as well as questions from the people that are watching and questions from F1 and Motorsport UK.
Gotcha. So sorry, I've perhaps missed it there. Is this articles or podcasts? What are we talking about?
No, this is Zoom. This is like
okay.
Zoom sessions. So it's all live, and people can interact through the chat. Everybody's on mute because they're expecting quite a lot of people. So it can get a bit noisy, can't it, when someone nearly spills their drink?
I wonder who that might be. Yeah, and talking of been a while, Lewis. I can't remember the last time it was ZoomZoomers, months ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Definitely the first time we've seen you since Christmas. How's it all been?
It's been yeah, it's been going along. Work has been interesting because just obviously things are changing pretty quickly, but I'm ticking along all right, so I can't complain on that grand scheme.
Oh, that's good to know. And we need to know about the Corvette. How's the Corvette going?
That is still in the air. Its MOT expired just at the start of December, I think. And it didn't seem like an essential trip to be making, so it's just been left while I've been sorting bits out. I think actually on the basis of some work stuff, I might actually start doing a few bits to it now, but yeah, it's just, and it's also not the time of year to be chasing things around, so I'm just kind of leaving it.
No.
I have a new car as well, so Corvette is a momentary distraction at the time.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Richard, how have things been going for you since we last spoke to you?
Oh, I think I've been doing some stuff on electrified motorsport, and today I was writing a thing on the Audi R8 because that's 15 years old this year.
Whoa.
So yeah, some varied stuff. I'm going to be talking to someone tomorrow about the Cosworth BTCC hybrid car, so that'll be interesting. So yeah, some good stuff out there.
Yeah, because so electric motorsports, obviously, this is the right Zoom call to be on. Then I'm sure it's going to crop up a few more times as we carry on. So Ian, how have things been going for you? So since Christmas, obviously the mad rush of Christmas for someone who's who sells very giftable items, and then since then, how's it all been going? More continuous cars, I guess.
The continuous cars have been continuously being continued. Yes, that is what's happening. It's been good. It's been good. Lining up guests. So a few of you have been involved. LA's been involved and had doing a few more. Obviously getting the books being done. So we're getting through the scans have all been done. So that's in progress. Merch going well. And yeah, it's just now it's just we're just waiting to find out when the event season might possibly begin. I think Goodwood putting the dates in. They've kind of put their stake in the ground, saying okay, but then people generally most events kind of go around Goodwood and go right either side of it or whatever, bar F1, which but F1 just does its own thing. It rules the roost anyway. So yeah, no, it was. We did a cool thing with Praga as well. That was with Naomi, who got involved with that, which was really cool on the launch of the R1. And yeah, it's just been just getting on with it really. Because I don't know when my there we are. Thanks, LA. I don't know when my normal job will return. So just getting on with what I can do really. So
it's such a normal job that you have of creating art with radio controlled cars.
That's what I did put inverted commas, like normal.
Yeah. Well, talking of Praga, it's been everywhere thanks to Naomi and a lot of people beyond Naomi, of course. How is it all going for Praga, Naomi? It's quite exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Yeah, I haven't. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. I haven't been in ZoomZoomers for weeks and weeks and weeks. I missed the Christmas special. Sad times. But it's one of the projects we've been doing in this new year. This month seems mad. I can't believe it's only a few weeks since Christmas. Praga launched their new R1 and it's an amazing car, really, really cool car. And it's a great brand to be associated with. And I like, it's great to work with smaller brands. You can be a bit more anarchic, a bit more interesting. I've worked with bigger car companies. This is a very different experience and it's really, really enjoyable. And yeah, it was great to be able to do the live stream with Ian. That was just the drawing just looks absolutely mega. It's cool to have a cool car to draw and then to do something incredibly cool with it.
I must admit, I was a little because I recognize it's one of those you don't recognize the name, but you recognize the face. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, it's the guy from McLaren.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I didn't see him because it wasn't working on the live stream until he popped up, and I was like, you had that kind of gasp, and you go, oh, it's you. But it was super cool. His stories about built about McLaren and the various the Mini and things that he's been involved with. It was really, really cool to hear. So thanks very much for sorting that out, Naomi. It's brilliant.
No, thanks for doing it. That's cool. That's Mark Harrison Ian's talking about, who's the MD of Praga Cars UK, but was formerly McLaren and BMW. Has some amazing stories to tell. But yeah, it's been an amazing start to the year. Apart from that, well, amazing, God, with a giant asterisk next to it. But you know what I mean. Relatively speaking.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Are we going to see Praga racing in the UK? Is it Brick Car they're going to be?
Yeah, Brick Car this year. Yeah, they'll have up to 12 cars this year. There was 3 racing last year in Brick Car, and there'll be up to 12 this year, and they'll have their own category. So there's some great people. Our own Charlie Martin, obviously from ZoomZoomers, is there, and Jay Morton, who is ex-SAS, and Richard Morris, who's one of the founders of Racing Pride. So yeah, lots of cool people racing the car next year. So yeah, it's great. The reaction to the car has been amazing. Really, really pleased.
Well, it's a
You
very
have to
dramatic
go,
car.
Naomi.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see. The problem is, I get to work on some very cool cars, but I can't fit in any of them. I'm 6'3". I can't fit in any. Damien will tell you that. I can't
We
fit
have
in
got
any.
footage. You've got. Have you got it? Have I got the footage?
I've got the footage. Yeah, under lock and key. I'm trying to get into Damien's Lotus many years ago.
Yeah.
Like a million years ago, it feels like.
Talking of which, Damien,
Yeah.
the Lewis Elise, the chassis dead.
It's lasted a lot longer than I thought it would have done. I mean, the mid 90s is when, you know, it popped up, and really it's done all right, really. That chassis has been in everything. When you think about that, the Lotus type number was 111, and it's they're up to 130 odd now. So it's done well for them, really. And it's a bit of a bold move for them to say, right, we're ready to move on from that now. We can't just keep reshaping the same thing. But yeah, there's lots of talk of Elise's, Exiges, all those kind of, maybe even the weird and wonderful ones that use the same chassis going up in value. And it's just typical because I don't own mine anymore. So of course it's going to go up in value now that mine's gone. That's just typical, isn't it? So
what's left in that range now, though, in its place? Not with Lotus, but just generally, what are the equivalents you can find anymore?
What in with Lotus? Sorry,
no, with other brands. What kind of similar car is still
just the Alpine, I guess.
Now the Alpine, yeah. I mean, I suppose Alpha had a bit of a stab, but it was twice as expensive. And I suppose there's a few more niche vehicles. I mean, if you want that kind of raw experience, you go even further the other way and look at Ariel and Co. and maybe even Praga. I'm not sure if anyone's brave enough to to convert one. If are there road legal versions, Naomi? Do you know?
There was back in the day in the R1R, yeah.
They did the R1R, which was a prototype, wasn't it? They only did one in dark blue, which they tested. They did quite a lot of road miles on it. So who knows? There might be a new R1R with a new one.
It's a stunning car. The old R1R looks amazing on the street. Just quite jarring. The completely different shape to what you would imagine any car that you could use day to day would look like. But amazing. But yeah, I'm curious because it feels like the sort of British Roadster or the British Coupe, whatever it is the sort of in a affordable car.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, even KTM. It's way more expensive, and Morgan. They kind of it's that same thrill and the same Britishness and that kind of thing. But again, it's more expensive than the Elise. And I kind of hope whatever comes along isn't going to be super powerful. I like the fact that when the Elise came out, it had 118 horsepower. Yeah, let's do that again. Let's not keep adding more and more and more, getting up to the 200s. No. Let's go back to the low 100s. Let's keep the weight around 600 kilograms. But
Gordon Murray's on about doing a cheaper sports car. Once the T50's out and he's made a bit of money with that and sold some supercars to some hyper rich people. He's on about doing a cheaper sort of 30 grand-ish sports car. He wanted to buy the smart Roadster chassis. He wanted to be able to buy that and put a different engine in and stuff, and it went nowhere and stuff. But he is on about doing like a T25 or whatever he wants to call it, which will be like a cheaper British sports car, which might fill the void.
Well, that would be fantastic. I think that's kind of what's missing in the lineups of lots of different cars at the moment is that Elise style thing, because it just puts itself above the likes of the MR2 when it came out and that kind of thing.
The problem is it's just really hard to get the maths to work.
Yeah, of course.
Because when you try and sell a car for even 40 grand, you realize that you're not making any money on it. So you have to sell it for 60 grand. And then at 60 grand, you're competing with other stuff. So it can no longer only be 120 horsepower. And it's moved up market. And then all of a sudden it's not 60 grand. It's now costing you 80 grand. And now you're competing even further up market. And you just end up in this spiral up to 1,000 horsepower, £1 million sports cars. It's really, really hard to get the maths to work on what the Elise originally was.
Yeah, I suppose it just needs a complete rethinking of everything, which is sort of what the Elise did. And I guess, Nia, you're used to that kind of completely blue sky. Let's forget what a car should look like. Forget what the rules are. Let's actually make a vehicle designed for a purpose. And I suppose you start with what the purpose is and then try and design it that way around, rather than thinking, what do cars look like? Okay, how do we make it into something exciting? Or do you think it's possible with the right mindset then to ever have an Elise type thing again for the right sort of money?
I mean, I hope so. Elise did so many things so cleverly, the use of aluminium extrusions and all that kind of stuff that really kept the cost down. But even Lotus realized that when you're only making 1,000 cars and you're trying to maintain a whole company behind that, you can't sell them for 30 grand because you just end up going bust. You have to take it further up market. It's possible that electrification might actually help to bring costs down, because the possibility of having a lot of power with off-the-shelf components, maybe even an off-the-shelf chassis, and then you just kind of put a new body onto the skateboard. That could help.
Yeah, indeed. I think the more power becomes more accessible and everything as well with these things. And I still think power. It's a shame that power is the halo that people seem to want. They want the big numbers, when I think the thrill of driving something like an Elise, you just completely forget what the numbers are, and it's it'd be good to see someone dig it out. And maybe a company like Caterham, it's hard for them to invest lots of money. They tried it with 21, but they just didn't have the budget. I think I heard one quote, something like they spent less on the entire development of the 21 than Lotus did on the door of the Elise. I think it was one of the quotes that I heard. But I guess, Chris, I don't know if you've got your ear to the ground about anything going on at Caterham that might be similar.
I know that Caterham are looking at electrification. I can see an electric 7 coming, because what are they going to do otherwise? It's got to be on the cards for them. Obviously, the whole thing with Alpine didn't work the way they wanted. So I think what they want to do is to try and partner up with somebody. Maybe have somebody, come along who's going to be the engine provider, that they could do maybe a Caterham hot hatch with them, and then that engine becomes the engine for, their car for the future. I don't know. I did drive one of the KTM Crossbows last year, and it's 100%. You're 100% correct with what you said. I thought the car was probably going to be, at most probably 60,000, 70,000. The car that I drove at Silverstone went secondhand for £100,000. And that was a car that had been fairly heavily used on track and et cetera, et cetera. There isn't that sort of 30, 35, 40,000 pound British sports car anymore. It just doesn't really exist. Caterham is the only one I can think of.
I bet anyone watching this in the kit car industry will go, well, don't forget about us. But there's, you can go that route, of course. But
mainstream sports car. I'm not talking about hundreds of cars. I'm talking as Near said, 1,000 cars. 1,000 cars makes production, right? Less than that, and it's small production.
The problem is that it's exactly at that point that it becomes hard to get the maths to work. When you're a kit car company that's making a dozen cars a year, you can kind of make it work because you're only employing 4 people, and people are don't mind that it's you don't have that whole infrastructure behind you. When you're selling 1,000 cars a year, you're in a whole different place. And again, it's just really hard to get the maths to work when you're between 1,000 and 20,000. And the market's only really big enough for one MX-5 and for one GT86 and BRZ. The market's simply not big enough to sustain any more than that.
And of course, that market is getting increasingly smaller as well. And as subsequent generations come along, I think it's going to shrink even further, almost to the point of non-existence, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think with electrification, I think people are starting to view cars in a different way, and it wouldn't surprise me to end up seeing more subscription models and cars on demand rather than owning your own car. And I suppose, Si, in the classic car market, you see that these trends kind of come and go with different types of car. Do you think it will be a while before we see any kind of electric cars becoming classics, or people wanting electric cars for their weddings, and or are they always going to want those big, luxurious, brutish kind of engine cars?
I think we're a long way away from that kind of being like a demand from a higher point of view. From and that's not just weddings, that's everything. That will be if you want something EV to hire, it's got to be as quick and powerful and as big a laptop face as you can fit on the dash possible. That's what the demand will be. But as far as classic cars goes, yes, definitely. I've written a little piece about this already. It's if you want to, I don't like this word, invest in an early classic car, then it's the Mark One of everything. So the first Zoe, get as low a VIN number as you can. Lewis will know about that. The Leaf as well. Excuse me, the Leaf as well. Same thing. Absolutely. I don't think there's going to be any kind of crazy. It's a shame. You were talking about the kit car market earlier, and especially being British sports cars. Those cars really suit an EV conversion. I mean, one that springs to mind. I mean, I'm very old, but one that springs to mind is a little company called Strathcarron. Some of you may remember that name from the late. Remember that beautiful little thing.
The SC5A, I think.
Oh wow, you nerd! And yeah,
this is my world.
That would suit a lovely little leaf blower in the boot, no problem at all. And it's those sort of cars. And Nia is absolutely right. That kind of off-the-shelf part is definitely going to work in something that you can produce cheaper with someone else's chassis, and that is effectively a kit car. So I think we're going to see a new birth of maybe not British OEMs making sports cars, but I think it's going to be smaller companies that will start small with a skateboard and off-the-shelf EV parts. Very lightweight, very pretty little things, and they're going to grow. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with Lewis's point about is it a shrinking market. I think there's going to be a new one, but it's going to be names that we've probably not heard of yet.
Also, with those kind of cars, you're not really shooting for the crazy range that makes everything so expensive and heavy at the moment. We're looking into it because I bought an EV before Christmas, and our second car, if you like, the car we had before, we kept it and we're just going to convert it when we can. And we realized that if you have it as a runabout, which we could basically use it like a van, if you have it as a runabout, you just need to get to the local town and that kind of thing and back and forth. It can be really affordable. You don't need many batteries at all. And you can pull quite a lot of relatively valuable stuff out of the car and sell it against the cost of actually buying the batteries. So it can be quite doable. We actually, Simon had a Model X for my father-in-law's wedding car, and that was brilliant. Really, really good fun. So fun.
It's the graceful exit from the wide doors, isn't it? That was the photo. That's the money shot, definitely.
Yeah, although we were all quite green. The driver, no one loved the car more than the driver did, and absolutely drove the wheels off it. And we were very green when we got to the church, but great fun though.
Can I just ask, Beth, is the ERA chassis an off-the-shelf chassis that you put electric drivetrain in, or is it somebody else that's making the chassis for you? And then, so is it another junior class, a car?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The chassis is, it's a bit complicated, but the chassis is essentially a dome F1 110 chassis, which is the Japanese Formula 4. It's not actually used in Europe at all yet until us. It's used in the Japanese Formula 4 series. But the rear end is a custom built sub chassis that's been built by us, and that houses the battery and powertrain, but that's completely done in-house by us. Cool.
Is it like the sort of Formula 1 style where the engine and gearbox, so the motor and gearbox is a structural part of the car?
No. The battery and motor are not structurally integral at all. It's a tubular frame custom sub chassis basically on the back, and then the battery is housed inside safety box, so to speak, but it's not part of the structure. It's just fits inside. So yeah, it's exactly that. We essentially took an existing chassis and modified it and fit the powertrain inside it rather than building something completely from scratch. Because who needs to reinvent a junior formula car anyway? But nobody does it better than the existing chassis manufacturers,
Which I guess is what people like Caterham are going to have to do.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you seen any kind of packaging problems with the batteries for races, or is it because you're not necessarily going for long races at high level of motorsport that it hasn't really been too much of an issue? Are you still able to get a decent race length out of the batteries that you can fit into an existing single seater?
Yeah, so with our car, everything we based on the existing circumstances of the chassis. So obviously the chassis is already there in race and combustion series. So we were like, this is what the chassis is built to do. We will build an electric car that's basically the entire spec. And the big aim was to make it not too expensive and not gain weight, basically. So those were the two big technical challenges, and we managed both of those things. But so that car's existing, doing 23-minute races in a lap, and that's what we've built it to. So you're not talking huge distances, which means we've got a 24 kilowatt-hour battery in there. That's more than enough. That works fine, and that you don't need to add like a ton of extra weight. You don't want to in a junior formula. It would just be not fun anymore and no longer comparable to a combustion equivalent. So yeah, that was the battery challenge. In terms of packaging is actually the most difficult thing in EV battery world at the moment. Like when everyone's talking about, batteries are really hard to get and they're really expensive, what they actually mean is packaging. Like the cells themselves are the easy part. The packaging is really difficult, but we're not having any massive problems because we're not going for those long race distances. We're not having we need cooling. We've got our own cooling system that's built in there, but we're not having huge heating issues and we're not having huge range problems because we're simply not looking to run like a Grand Prix.
Have you seen any advantages maybe in lowering the center of gravity or anything like that by not having an engine to deal with, or is it still kind of roughly similar? Are you able to package it even better than a combustion engine?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think we've made a few improvements. I mean, just some silly things like until you take kind of a existing Formula 4 apart, you kind of forget that the driver's essentially sat on a massive fuel cell. And that when we took that apart, I suppose it was the first time that I was like, yeah, this is, everyone goes on about electric safety. And I mean, that's basically 90% of my job is making sure electric cars are safe on track. But, I think we've desensitized ourselves to the fact that combustion racing is also kind of mental as well. So there's things like that. The weight distribution is actually really great. I don't know off the top of my head exactly the weight ratio. It's not exactly 50-50. It's a little bit heavier in the back, but it's really good on that front in terms of weight. And we haven't really, we've essentially swapped like for like in terms of weight. The good thing is with the way we've done it is we can essentially position the weight where we want it in the car. So we've obviously done, our engineers have done the analysis of where's best with the battery and the motor placement and the inverters and come up with the best solution, and then the best solution to then cool that. And so I guess we've built on an existing thing that works really well. And I would say we've improved it because it's electric now, and that's pretty cool, right?
Very cool. Have you had some good feedback from the test drivers about how it performs compared to a normal car, a combustion car?
Yeah, so we've had a few test drivers in the car, but our regular kind of mule that we put in the car is one of our directors, and he's a Belgian kind of ex-racing driver called Rudy Penders, and he's known for racing Porsches and Le Mans and things like that. So he's a diehard petrol head, but he described it as a rocket ship when he drives it. And if you can convince like a kind of a classic petrol head gentleman driver who's not like the most electrically minded person, but he's now gone out and bought a Porsche Taycan. So
okay.
Yeah, I think we've sold it. I think like everybody at first gets like worked up how they're going to cope without the noise, but we found that especially in the wet, our car makes like a ton of noise. I've just gone on about like how it's really good that we're avoiding the noise restrictions, but it's really, really noisy in the wet. Like you can just hear a load of new noises that you don't hear in a combustion. Like you hear the tires in the wet. It's like it makes a really cool like futuristic sound. Every motor is different. Like Formula E sounds one way, we sound a different way. Your electric cars on the road sound different. So there's a load of cool things to appreciate really. So we've had pretty positive feedback.
Good. We look forward to seeing it. Any idea roughly when it's going to be live and we'll be able to watch it, and where we'll be able to watch it?
I can't tell you yet where you're going to watch it, but we're planning some kind of I say demo races, some race events later on towards the summer this year. obviously with COVID, we've made some big shifts calendar-wise, and we're going to be announcing a kind of new COVID-friendly plan, I think, in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we should be doing a live demo of the car as well pretty soon, as well as announcing when you can watch some racing. But everything will be live streamed, because that was pretty much on our initial board of these are the things that we must make happen.
Yep.
That was like free live streaming of all races was like number one on there, so it will definitely be available somewhere.
Great, fantastic. Look, I really look forward to seeing all that. Now, there has been a theme for the week or the month of Cars with Animal Names, but before we come on to that, I do have a guest waiting in the wings. So a lot of you will hopefully recognise at least the voice of someone who's been around for many decades on the radio. And Dave, can you hear us? I'll just wait for him to connect to audio. Can you hear us there, Dave?
I can. How are you?
Not bad. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. Now, not a lot of people will realise just what a massive petrol head you are and a lover of cars and that kind of thing. So it was great to have you along to ZoomZoomers, where we can actually talk a bit about cars. We've had the privilege of working together on a few videos and things in the past, and recently you've even been doing podcasts and such about cars. Do you just tell us, well, before we start, could you let us know your name and, if possible, your Twitter handle as well, please? And then just tell us a bit about what you've been up to.
Name is Dave Vitty. Twitter handle is David Vitty, DavidVitty. Yes, as you said, Damien, we've had the pleasure of working together on 11 films, I think it was, in total, during your time at Influx. So that was something that I very much enjoyed. We were introduced through a mutual colleague, and you had the opportunity to sort of outsource some production work to independent production companies such as ourselves. So you'd give us a brief for a film, and myself and my cameraman mate Matty would go off and do it. And it was great. It was genuinely my favorite job ever. You know, as somebody who's always liked cars, the idea of actually being given a budget and saying, you know, can you go off to Italy and go and film a load of MX-5s in a garage for a few days? It's like, yeah, I'd love to. You know, I loved it. So that was how our paths first crossed. My background is obviously in radio, which I was in for many, many years. I was 16 years at Radio 1. And then since then, I've been working for a series of different production companies. So now primarily doing podcast and radio production. So it's one of those things that was strange, actually, because actually the production company I was working for were primarily a video production company, although ironically were run by three guys who spent all their time in radio. So it made sense that we should be doing more audio production. And as podcasts have had something of a renaissance in the last couple of years, certainly. I mean, obviously they've been around for a long, long time. I mean, you think back to, you know, the days of Ricky Gervais and whatnot, and Carl Pilkington doing podcasts. I mean, that was a long, long time ago. And then they seem to sort of go quiet. And then the last couple of years, I say they've had a real resurgence. So it's something that we felt was the right time to get back into it. So we actually, as a company now, do a whole load of different podcasts, some commercial ones, some entertainment ones. So, I mean, to give you an idea of the breadth, you know, before Christmas, I was doing Dick and Dom's podcast, but I was also doing a podcast for pet food analytics, which was dull as anything, as you can imagine. It was just two people talking about analyzing data around pet food so that they could make more informed choices about what their customer base was. But, you know, it doesn't really matter what the subject matter is, because at the end of the day, our job is just to record it as best we can and edit it and make it into a nice glossy product. And ironically, one of the good things about the lockdown, we as a company, actually, to be fair, have done very well out of lockdown. You know, I know a lot of people have really struggled, but being able to work out how to record remotely and operate our whole setup remotely is something genuinely we didn't know how to do this 12 months ago. And suddenly all of our jobs just fell apart. And so we suddenly had to sort of sit down and kind of go, right, well, what is the best software for recording audio remotely? What is the best way of actually having a visual link as well? Blah, blah, blah. And we, through a system of trial and error, we found a way that works for us now. And that's what we employ for a load of different things. And having the ability to work from home and also access to guests has actually been better in lockdown, because all of these people who ordinarily would be off on tour, you know, singing or on stage somewhere or in EastEnders or whatever their busy life entailed, you've got all of this crop of talent who are all sitting there scratching their ass basically at home. So the idea of, have you got a spare 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is, to come and have a chat with us? Normally they'll be like, yeah, yeah, why not? Because it gets me out of homeschooling. It'll probably get me out the washing up as well. So yeah, I'm all yours. And so it's genuinely worked in our favor. So we've produced 3 radio shows in the last year for Greatest Hits Radio, which is a national station, and a whole load of different podcasts. I produce the official EFL podcast every week for the English Football League, which keeps me busy. As I say, we've done everything from pet food to Dick and Dom and everything in between, a load of corporate ones. And but as a passion project, in fact, this was during your time, Damien, still. In fact, largely to thank for this is that when Damien was still working for his previous employers, we talked quite a lot, didn't we, about doing a podcast at some point?
Yeah. Oh, the appetite was clearly there. So especially around cars.
Absolutely. And we talked about this, for a long, long time. And for whatever reason, you guys were busy with other stuff. I was busy with other stuff. And it never really quite happened until last year when we finally got the green light to do a podcast called Fueling Around, which I host with Jason Plato and a whole series of celebrity petrolheads, essentially, which again is just like the best job in the world because, Plato likes to record from about 4 o'clock onwards so that he can have a gin and tonic and a fag in his hand. So he's got this sort of converted man cave above his garage. So he's in there. He's away from the wife and the kids, and every so often you'll hear like a bottle top going off a beer or something, or another thing of tonic getting opened. Yeah. And then we just have a natter about car history and old car memories and the sort of stuff that we all like to talk to, which is effortless. With who do we have on the last series? We had Ricky Wilson, we had James Martin, Maxie Priest, Kelvin Fletcher, Steve Jones, Amy McDonald, blah 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 blah, all the usual suspects. But it was tremendously fun. We really loved doing it, and delighted to say that we just had a green light for a new commission as well, which we're going to start recording in the next few weeks. So that's kind of me, really, I suppose.
Yeah, and one of the things that I said brought us together was that you have a love of cars. You've been in. You've raced, for example.
Badly.
Badly. Did you crash, or did I make that up?
No, I did. So Ginetta, which is run by Lawrence Tomlinson, who many of you will know, who's a no bullshit Yorkshireman, and he says pretty much what he thinks. And I've been lucky enough to go to do a couple of track days with Ginetta. I'm not quite sure how I first got introduced to them, actually. But anyway, I got to know them, and I got to know the people who ran the media days and whatnot. So I would sort of get invited to Silverstone, which was a great day out. And anyway, in one of these, I somehow managed to crash one of his G60s into another G60 because I lost the back end. I was giving it too much beans, and I was driving way beyond my ability, and too much of the beans, and anyway, lost the back end. Which was always going to happen because it was slippy out there as well. And then somehow managed to come round and then T-bone another one that was coming around at the same time. So anyway, this was this story obviously got banded around a lot. And when I did eventually meet him, I saw him at Brands Hatch when I was actually there with Plato one day. And I saw him and I thought, oh, God, I'm going to have to go and say hello, aren't I? So I went up and I sort of said, hi, Lawrence. He goes, hello. I said, I'm Dave Vitty from Radio 1. And he goes, you're the twat that crashed all my cars into each other. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Anyway, so that was on. But there was no hard feelings because we ended up making a film about them, Damien. So it was all
Didn't he lend you his car for a while?
He did, yeah. Yeah, he lent me this crazy, I forget which one it was. But yeah, he lent me his car for a week just because we were talking about it. And he kind of said, just borrow it for a week. So I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was, I had to be very careful with that because there's no traction, no nothing. And, on a sort of slippy sort of exit off a roundabout, that could have been straight in the curb. But anyway, I didn't bend it on this occasion, which I was pleased to say. And I got it back in one piece.
That's good to hear. I think there's probably people here that know. It was the Ginetta that was previously a Fabio GTS.
Yeah. What was it? Was it the G?
It was a G something. Yeah.
I'm going to have a look now. I'm double screening it. Bear with me. Please hold.
Right, okay. But obviously your relationship with him stayed intact long enough for him to
It's all fine. I like Lawrence actually. He's as I say, he's no bullshit, but he's fun. He's got a good sense of humor. Fortunately, for people that crash cars.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll find it in a minute. The G
All right.
something was it? It wasn't the G. No, not the G50.
No, it was. I think it was a higher number than that.
Farbood sports car based.
Yeah, the one that Farbood did. Looks just like it.
Hang on.
I know exactly the car you mean, but I don't know what Janetta called it.
It's going to irritate me now. I've got a picture on Instagram. I could.
Cammie just said "gee whiz," and I like that joke a lot. By the way, that's excellent.
I'm glad it was heard.
Hang about.
I missed that. Thanks for that, Simon.
Right, I've got. Which one is it? Here. I've got a picture of it, and I can't share it with you. But it was the. Doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
F400. I just looked it up.
It wasn't that. I know, and that's what it's saying here. But it was called the G something as well. It does say F400 though, isn't it? On the article I've got an article from Evo in 2010.
It was rebadged G60.
There you go. That's what I was thinking of. G60.
Right, G60. Very good. How do you feel about electric cars in motorsport? Because we've got a few people here who are involved in electrification of motorsport, and I know Jason Plato, who's obviously a pal, is very much I like to hear an engine running kind of guy. So where do you what side do you fit on, do you think, Dave?
I think there is a certain obvious and quite right inevitability around all electric cars, whether it be sort of domestic usage and racing, and the advancements seem to be coming so fast at the moment. No, it's the future. I mean, it can only be a good thing. It's the idea of petrol powered cars in even a couple of 5 years, I suspect, will feel prehistoric. And it's obviously what we've all been brought up with. You can't deny that obviously the smell of a petrol car and the noise and everything else that we love about motorsport and we love about cars, and that's probably part of the reason why we're all sat here, is what we know and love. However, it is a prehistoric science, relatively speaking, and we have to move forward. So yeah, I would fully embrace it, to be honest with you. I mean, at the moment we're obviously in a sort of hybrid situation, no pun intended, sorry, but we are in a kind of we are sort of straddling two camps to an extent, but no, there will for sure it will be electric all the way, and it won't be long. It really won't.
No, well, before we let go of the internal combustion engine, I'm just going to give you the traditional welcome of a special guest by showing you the trackday owned scrap wheel. I've sort of dropped this into your inbox earlier and just said I'm going to.
I didn't fully understand it. That's why I didn't.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I'm just going to share a screen, and if you guys can do the usual thing of just giving me a wave when you can see the screen, hopefully you'll see what looks like a Wheel of Fortune kind of thing. Okay, Dave, what I'll do, I'll spin it 3 times, and that'll give you a selection of 3 cars. And then you'll just have to choose one that you'd like to take on a track day, one that you'd choose to own, and then one's just got to be scrapped. So
it's like Snog, Marry, Avoid, but for cars, essentially.
Exactly that. Yeah, Snog, Marry, Avoid, but go for track day and scrap. So I'm going to spin it 3 times.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can see that spinning.
Oh, hang on. Have I got to see what? Oh, hang on. Right. Okay. So
I'll shout out what it is. It's that brutal MG X Power. Again, Chris Hughes has probably got it on the tip of his tongue what actual model that is, but it's that big fat.
Yeah,
NASCAR style MG thing.
Wasn't it? Isn't it also related very closely to a Holden as well?
Potentially, I'm not sure about that, but Chris.
Well, it's all GM, isn't it? Isn't it a Vauxhall?
No, it's MG.
MG. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon.
So there's that one anyway, which I might end up in the bin at this rate. But we'll see. We'll see what else pops up. So that's one of your 3. The next one. Okay, it's a Ferrari 288 GTO.
That's the Magnum one, isn't it?
It's the homologated version of that. So it's the predecessor to the F40. This was the special one. So there's that one. So you got your MG versus your Ferrari, and one more spin.
There's no contest there, is there?
No, it's going to be an easy one for you. We have a Honda NSX. I think that's the Type R.
Okay.
So track day, own, and scrap. So track day, you only get to drive once, but it's on track. Own, obviously, and then one goes in the bin.
well, I'm going to bin the MG.
Yeah.
And
Glad you said that.
I was going to say, how quick do you want this answer? And then if I'm going to own one, it'll be the Ferrari, and then I'll do the NSX on the track.
It couldn't be easier, really, could it, in the end there?
Told that
There
one,
we
isn't
go.
it?
Remove that. I'll stop that sharing there. Stop that there. And also, Dave, have you brought along something red and something green by any chance?
Ta-da!
Good. Beth, if you managed to find something red and something green, not sure if the message was passed on to you from Naomi.
I had to
I think
improvise.
you're on mute at the moment, but then
Yeah.
the thumbs up.
I'm prepared, don't worry.
You're prepared.
Yes.
Okay. Nia's got cars. By the way, if you wonder what Ian's doing, he is actually sat in a car. There. He's breaking up. He's gone to his car because he's got better Wi-Fi, but it's not really working out very well for him. Bless him. But it's a great image we're left with anyway. So I'm just going to ask a series of questions. So the usual rules apply. Red if you disagree or want to say no, and green if you agree or want to say yes. So Simon's getting a snapshot of that. Okay, question number 1. I would rather watch Formula 1 in 2021 without Lewis Hamilton in it. Of course, he hasn't actually signed his contract yet from what we can make out. So some people would like to see him, some wouldn't. So there's a mixed bag there. And there's a face of Vettel from Beth.
Yeah, angry Vettel.
Angry
Very
Vettel
appropriate
is
for
your
your first question. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, car number 2. A car from 2001, which is now 20 years old, is a classic.
It's which car, really?
Very dependent.
Yeah. Okay. Instinct. I think Simon was quick up with the green, which is quite interesting. Okay. Number 3.
I thought trainers older than that.
Still wearing it.
I've got makeup older than that.
By the way, LA, what are you actually drinking? Looks like a Guinness in a wine glass.
It is. It's a pint of Guinness and black in a crystal wine glass.
Oh, sorry. So
Fair
there is class.
I'm very
there.
posh.
No messing.
Very posh. Don't be mistaken by the accent.
Okay, next question. I own more than one car.
I don't own one of them in it.
You've got about half a car.
Hang on.
at the moment,
So what's the question again?
I own more than one car.
Oh, mine died.
Yours died. Simon's got loads you can borrow.
Well, technically, I've given my other one to my missus, but they're still both registered in my name, so that'll count, won't it?
That'll count. Okay, number 4. I listen to the radio in a car.
Surprise, surprise.
Only choice. I don't have a CD player in the 308 SW. It's maybe radio only. That's all you've got.
Oh, really? Does it expect you to hook up your phone if you want to listen to the radio or something then? I haven't listened to the radio since the tedious link days, Dave. I still miss those.
Well, there was no point after that, was there?
I've got a tape machine in mine. And
tape machine?
On all my old tapes. Yeah, it's great.
Blimey. Okay, question number 5. I've gained weight since March 2020.
Unquestionably.
Oh, LA's refusing to admit it, or
No. I've lost 4 stone. No.
have you? No.
Blimey.
Okay. Number 6. Lamborghinis should be in bright colours. Oh, Naomi's having to think hard about
The older ones.
So I thought of a really nice black one today, and that's why I'm thinking.
Okay.
Daniel Golson posted it.
Who was that, sorry?
Daniel Golson in America.
Number 7. Aston Martins should be in bright colours.
Can I have the pink back? Yeah.
Aren't Aston's always silver?
Yeah,
the racing GTs look
There's
really
a blue.
nice.
Well, it's a light blue one, isn't there? That Prince Charles used to drive.
Yeah.
Okay, number 8.
Volante.
Number 8. Owning a Maybach, a 21st century Maybach, is classy.
Not in a month of Sunday.
No, is it a unanimous no? Go for the roller every time, is it? Okay. No Maybachs. Okay, I know the answer to this from a few of you, Dave. Number 9, I've driven a free-wheeled car.
On
Ian's
purpose.
still got one.
Only when one came off. Yeah, no.
I don't think I have.
Even though
Did
was
you
your-
did you
was
think
it your
I did?
dad?
No.
It-
No, my
the Grinnell
father-in-law.
Scorpion.
My father-in-law had a Grinnell Scorpion. Yeah,
You did, yeah.
yeah, but I never drove it.
You never driven one before. I think at one point I was going to try and get you to do a film about them, but I think we ended up just doing generic freewheel cars or something.
We did.
Or was it just bubble cars?
We did bubble cars, didn't we? We did
Yeah.
a sort of generic bubble car thing, which took us over to this bubble car rally over in the gay capital of Spain in a place called Sitges. And me and Matty went on this sort of bizarre and a sort of like gay bubble car weekend. It was very specialist, but it was good fun. The film turned out nice.
It did. Yeah, the opening shots of that film were fantastic. As you sat behind the driver as he's bobbling along. Yeah, great.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Is everyone else in the same boat, suddenly feeling like very, how can I put it, old, because you really remember Dave's voice being on the radio back in the day, and now
Yeah, it's surreal, isn't it? Yeah, the first time you meet Dave and you go, yeah.
Mate, there's only one Dave. That's Comedy Dave, right? That's the only Dave.
Well, formerly known as. It was always an ironic title anyway.
Okay, question number 10. I'm on TikTok.
Today.
Just
only when I'm spying on my teenage daughter.
Right, okay. So you have an account, but you don't post.
No, I haven't got an account, I don't think.
So Ian, you're on there.
I literally activated it because I thought it's like trying to learn French or something. I have flipping no idea what's going on. No idea.
I could teach you, trust me.
Mate, just registered it, that's all. Got the domain, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, reserved your handle. Yeah.
I still don't get Instagram, so you can forget about it.
Okay, number 11. There's only 12. So number 11. Motorbikes sound better than cars.
What about motorbike powered car?
It's very dependent as well.
Well, there we go.
Depends on the bike, doesn't it? Really. You know.
What's your gut say? The gut instinct would have been red or green. What do you reckon?
I'm going to say red. Although there is a fellow over the road from us who's got a bike. It sounds really good. It's just that frequency. It kind of shakes the monitor in my office when he starts it up when he goes by. But it's a beautiful noise.
Not when you're trying to record a podcast or something.
No. Yeah, just hang on a minute. Yeah, the fella started a bike up over the road.
Didn't you have to hide under a duvet to begin with when you started working from home, or did I make that up?
No, I did. I didn't have to. I just thought, in the boredom of lockdown, I thought that I could improve my acoustics by putting a duvet over the bed, which is actually an old tried and tested way of doing voiceovers and whatnot at home. Yeah. I did it though, but the problem was that when you're under there, and the weather was really good last summer, and when I was under there for an hour, recording this podcast with Plato and Susie Perry. And by the end of it, I was sweating buckets. And I thought, do you know what? The negligible improvement in the sound quality isn't worth it. So I just got rid of it.
Good plan. Okay, final question for the red-green round. Pickup trucks are cool.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Who was oh, yeah, come on, is that Naomi?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, absolutely. Come on.
Oh, only Cammie's gone. Oh, no, and Near. Cammie and Near have gone no.
All I really want in life is an electric pickup truck.
Rivians.
Yeah.
We need Rivians.
Rivian.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rivians,
yeah.
so
The ones on the long way up, weren't they?
Yeah. They're wicked. They're awesome. I want a Rivian.
It looked really, really good. I was impressed with that.
I haven't seen that yet. So.
Have you not?
No,
Do you know what? It's spoiler alert. It's nowhere near as good as Long Way Around or Long Way Down.
Agreed.
Okay. So it's the same two guys.
It's the same two, but it's just not as good. And there's for anybody that's seen it, right? And this is a bit of a sort of there's a bit where they end up buying a bus and converting this bus so that they can drive through Mexico. That makes no sense whatsoever because they do all this work on the bus. Has anyone seen it? They do all this work on the bus, then they drive across Mexico to avoid these cartels, and then the bus just disappears. But they spent about a week doing it, like the A-Team or something.
It's like Top Gear with all this kind of thrown in jeopardy.
It's very
I actually stopped watching it because it was just all this over the top range anxiety that drove me mad. The whole thing was, will we make it? Will we make it? It's like, no, like the first episode, it's clear they actually haven't learned how to plug in anything or plan anything, or that cold weather is bad for, like they haven't learned any. So they're just being they're just being sort of stupid on purpose for the sake of the drama, and I sort of find that a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I was just like, if I was there, it would be better. And then you sound like a twat, but that's.
there's not much excitement when you see two middle-aged guys basically standing around waiting for their bikes to charge for 6 hours, and then go off on some pointless excursion just to kill time.
No, but it is lovely to watch them in those moments where they fall in love with their bikes. It's that's really nice.
Yeah,
that's what we all want to watch, is somebody really enthusing about something wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll still give it a go. Yeah, I'll give it a whirl. So what's it just called? Long Way Up, I guess.
Long Way Up. So it's on Apple TV.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, well, we'll leave that there and move on to the topic of the month. So hopefully a lot of you have had a chance to have a think about this, and maybe some of you have overthought it. And I can't remember the precise wording, whether I asked for the greatest car named after an animal or the best car, but it was something along those lines. So we're hopefully been thinking about cars with animal names. And I'm going to start with, let's start with Chris.
I got two, and they're both from the same manufacturer.
Okay.
Di Tommaso Pantera.
Ooh, okay.
And the Di Tommaso Mangusta.
Okay, let's translate those for those of us who aren't clever.
So it's Panther, and Mangusta is it's an animal that fights with snakes and eats snakes, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I Google it now.
So two Di Tommasos. Has he nicked anyone's guesses selections there? Oh, Lewis, have you got a backup, Lewis?
Actually, the first one that sprang to mind, which is by far from the greatest, was the Triumph Stag, but that's only because I've owned one.
And is that the only one that you've got left now that your Di Tommaso's been stolen from you?
That was the only two that I had on my short list, yeah. There are a plethora of other ones, but those are the two that were on the tip of my tongue.
Fair enough. Okay,
I've got a translation of Mangusta, by the way.
Go on.
It's Italian for mongoose.
It is mongoose. Yeah, and they do fight snakes, don't they? They're immune to the venom, I believe.
See, every day's school day.
There we go. That's why people tune in, Dave. I want to learn. Okay, Nia, what have you got? Because I think you had some obscure tangent that you went off when I said animal name.
Well, there's a lot of people, and the more I thought about it, there aren't actually all that many, and none of them are particularly good. In my world, in military vehicles, they're all named after animals. I've designed my fair share of vehicles that are named after animals, like the Sandcat and the Hawkeye and stuff like that. But I couldn't think of one that was actually genuinely really, really good. So I decided to hedge my bets and make sure that nobody else was going to take mine, and broaden the definition of what an animal is. And I'm not letting anybody take this away from me, because it's the Ferrari Dino.
So
it's an animal. It's an old, ancient reptilian animal, but a dino. It's the Flintstone's pet. You can't take that away from me.
Indeed, and a great car. So you've managed.
And it's a great car, exactly. That's the thing. I wasn't going to go for. Actually, the Stag's actually not a bad suggestion, funnily enough. Actually, all the others just seemed a bit naff. They were all kind of old naff cars. Sorry for spoiling anybody else's. So I'm definitely keeping the Dino.
You keep the Dino. That's fine. That's a good.
Any excuse at all.
Was it the Dino that was in the Persuaders?
I don't know. I'm not old enough for that.
Was there a Dino in the Persuaders?
Does anybody know? No.
On to look up.
Googling again. Yeah, this is what this is all about. Okay, before we do Googling, Cammie, have you got one?
Yeah, being the resident Ford girl, I owned my first car was actually a Ford Puma.
Ah, okay. Fair enough.
Of course, they made that alongside the Ford Cougar.
Yeah.
So you've had both of those, and loads of Fords have got animal names, haven't they?
So you're saying
everyone knows, like Mustang and Thunderbird.
But you're going for Puma as your pick.
I'll go for Puma as my pick.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's cool. Simon, what have you got?
Following on from Nia's scathing comments about not very good and old rubbish ones, I'd like to follow that with the Singer. No, not the 911 exclusive conversions, but the Singer Gazelle. Now that looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm the 50s car guy, and Gazelle is one of the best animals. So no, Nia, no.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm not swapping my Dino, I'm afraid.
No, you still win. I'll give you that. Yes, but yeah.
Excellent. LA, have you got one for this month?
Yes, you know me, I go American every day. It's a
Is that
Dodge
the
Ram.
Raptor?
Yeah,
Oh,
look at that. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's called Night as well. It's not going to be that colour, black. And I just want to pick up and I want to back on it as well, so I can just take off and go camping in it, like I did that year in my Dodge Magnum, which I couldn't pick because Magnum isn't an animal. I found that the Dodge was incredibly beautiful to drive across the states, because there's, you know, American cars aren't necessarily the best cars in the world, but I think for long road trips, when you're doing 23 states, you know, you're on the road for 6 weeks, those kind of cars are just fantastic to drive. They're so comfortable and very airstream. They seem to have it down to a bit of a T, really. And it's a 5.7 litre and V8, nice V8, nice purry kind of thing. 8-speed, can you believe it?
Wow.
8-speed.
That kind of journey now is just such a dream, isn't it? Such a fantasy to do that. I'm under 5 kilometre lockdown here. I can't go to the shop. There isn't a shop within that distance for me.
So what do you guys have to do there then?
You're allowed to go to the local shop, but that's it. Okay. But you get fined at roadblocks if you are caught doing anything other than that.
Wow.
Oh my God! Imagine doing that driving across the states now.
Oh no, I mean, I've loved doing it in the past anyway, and there was at one point about 3 years ago I thought I'd never ever be able to do it again in my life, but you know, 3 years later, I now feel that it's an option. And my mum's just had her first vaccine, so she's well on her way, and as soon as I get mine, we're definitely heading over there and doing it.
Amazing.
Excellent. Naomi, what have you got for us?
I Cammie nicked mine. So. Oh
really?
No, I was going to go for the Puma. Yeah, because I don't think I have any real claim to any of the sort of American cars. I think the Puma is the one that most is something that I personally sort of fantasized about when I was a kid growing up. It was a car I really, really, really wanted. My first couple of cars were Fords around that time. I had the two cars, one after the other, and the Puma just looked like the grown-up version of that. But I think it's just such an iconic, now I think, arguably a pretty iconic silhouette. And it's probably a bit of a leap to say that it, to me, reminds me of a sort of early precursor to the shapes that we saw later in the Vanquish and things like that.
Right.
But it is that kind of silhouette that I just absolutely adore. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Are they both Ian Callum?
Puma is, yes.
Yeah,
they must both be there. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's absolutely stunning car. Love it. And actually, the reason I was going to mention it was Drew Gibson, the motorsport photographer. If you follow him on Twitter, he drives one in lieu of flying to races now. And it's
a racing Puma, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
Which I think they only made 1,000. No, was it 1,000?
It's not a lot. It's a small amount. So
yeah, I actually wrote down the price of it earlier because I think it was originally 15,000 on the road, and I think it was 23,000 for the racing Puma, which now seems like amazing. But yeah, it's worth following him just to see the beautiful Puma that he has. It's in that racing edition blue, almost purpley blue color.
Yeah,
fabulous car.
Blue, yeah. Ford Racing Blue.
Yeah,
Ford Racing Blue. Ian, what have you got for us?
Well, being from Birmingham, it'd be wrong not to go for Jaguar, wouldn't it? Because I'm very proud of our Jaguar, and actually got some show and tell as well. Look, so there's the E-Type, built just down the road here in Coventry. I don't know why I'm doing the accent because I don't speak like that, but so there's the E-Type, and then you've got the famous Norman Jewis going down to that's Lake Geneve in the background.
9,600 HP, that car.
And that was painted at the Heritage Motor Centre. So yeah, and then you've got the Mike Hawthorne version as well. That's not E-Type, that's P-Type. So yeah, I'd go for Jaguar. And Jaguar, why not?
I can't argue with that really right now, can I? Because I've got one of those on the drive. Not a D-Type, obviously, but cool. Richard.
I think you knew what I was going to pick, but it's open to interpretation if it's an animal or an insect. So, of course, it would be this, because the story that I did for Influx. I was at the the Volkswagen showroom in West London, and they had one of the original Herbies from the first film, and I went there to see it. It was there stored over the winter in 2017, and I just felt like I was a kid again because it was an actual car from the film.
Yeah.
So that for me, I've never driven one. No, I never owned one. I've driven two. I never owned one, but I still quite like one in the garage done up with that paint job.
I wrote it down because I guessed that someone was going to say Beetle, and I put here that, did you know that it's not called Beetle in every country?
Well, yeah, I know, but you know.
So it's ladybird in French, coccinelle. But in parts of South America, it's known as the belly button because everybody's got one.
All right. I love that.
As well, actually. In
Sorry,
Spain. I think the Seat 600 was the same in Spain.
It's called the belly button.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
But interestingly, my other half said before we started that the TCV is obviously a tin snail, which then led us down the path of the S-Cargo, which was, of course, Nissan van, which would also be quite cool as well, I think.
Yeah, very cool. So, Beth, putting you on the spot, I don't suppose you've had a chance to think of an animal named car.
Yeah, well,
you haven't because
no, Naomi warned me about this.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, the Dodge Super Bee, because there's one sat at work at the moment. And then I was like, oh, it's not very on brand. So then I spent about half an hour on an article that was like top 10 cars named after fish. And they were all rubbish. And one of them didn't even exist. And one of them was called the Citroen Nemo, which was just like
it's a van.
Yeah, it was a white van. Yeah. So then I was like, oh, I better actually do the shameless plug. So when we built the ERA Championship race car, I was allowed to name the car. And
okay.
Yeah, so that was like my, I'm not technical at all. So I had probably the minimal input in actually building the car compared to anyone on the team, but I was allowed to name it. And because it's a Japanese chassis, we called it Mitsubashi, which is Japanese for honeybee. And since then, the whole livery and everything about the car has been designed. I don't know if you can see it kind of very reflective here, but so Naomi's got a much better picture. See, so we've got the bee stripes on there, and that's our dev car, and the car number is 38, which is also Mitsubashi and is in the shape of a bee. So there's this whole bee Japanese excitement thing. So I thought I'd better mention it because
definitely.
Kind of special to me.
Well, it's definitely, from your point of view, the best car named after an animal.
It is 100%.
Yeah.
Dave,
it made me realise I should have gone for the Tamiya Hornet.
I had one of them.
There's one.
A lot of people did. Have you got one there? Oh, look at his cupboard.
This takes me back. I remember painting it with my dad with the black paint, and then you had the rainbowy stripes on there.
I'm glad,
yeah.
I thought it was a door behind him, so I was like, "What's he doing?"
He's just leaving.
It's like a whole toy shop in there.
It is. This is what we all want, isn't it?
Oh, I love the BT's Holdall. BT's Holdall spot.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Is it broken?
Wow.
And you can tell that I used to race it because it's got PTO written on the bottom of it.
Oh, very good. Dave, I don't suppose you've had a chance to have a think about a car named after an animal.
Well, I have, but you see, the difficulty with going last is everybody said all the things that I was going to say. I was actually not necessarily the one that is my favorite, but certainly the one that came to mind first when you suggested it, like Naomi and like Cammie, was the Puma. I don't know why. I just the first one that came to mind. But I don't think anyone said the Cobra yet, have they?
No. I think Chris hinted at that in the social media posts this week, expecting it maybe to come up, the Cobra, the Viper, and such.
Yeah, I mean, I
expected the Firebirds to come up, so that didn't come up.
Yeah.
So
there are. Sorry, Dave.
I will go. No. I will go for that in the absence of anybody else. And I think the most inappropriate animal is a panda, probably, for a car. Don't you think? It's just an odd. I mean, normally when you think about the way that they attribute animal names to cars, they're normally powerful and sleek and dynamic. But a panda's none of those things, is it? So
No, and do you remember there used to be police cars as well?
Panda cars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Isn't there a fast version of the Panda?
The 100.
Yeah, there was 100 horsepower.
Yeah. I think Ian Strawn won it.
Fast version of it, yeah. Yeah.
Panda fastback, yeah.
Yeah.
Faster,
Beth, you looked for cars named after fish. Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
Did the Plymouth Barracuda come up?
You know what? I'm on the article again. The top 10 cars named a fish. I mean, some of these I can't pronounce, and I didn't know that there were fish of that name. Corvette Stingray, AMC Marlin, Chevy Nova. I didn't know there was a fish called a Nova. AMT Piranha, Citroen Nemo. No, it didn't come up. It's obviously not in the top 10 best fish named cars.
Wow.
I mean, this is the official top 10.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, the official top 10.
These are the worst fish cars.
Didn't know any of them were fish.
Wow. Are there any cars, any of you, that you expected to come up or you had in reserve that haven't come up that you'd like to, apart from, I mean, I know, Chris, you've actually got the encyclopedia of car names right there.
I spent a little bit of time. I just wrote down a few that I thought of. And one big one that nobody mentioned was Lancia Hyena, which was a special based on the Integrale that had a lighter weight body. It lost like 120 kilos or something over the Lancia Delta. So it was like a uber quick version of the Lancia Delta, designed by Zagato. This really, Neil would be able to tell us about it, but they had some really cool artwork behind their sort of motor show launch, which had like how the Hyena had influenced the shape and design and stuff. So I had that one. Chevrolet Impala for Simon. I thought that might be one that might come up. Dodge Super B, Chevrolet Stingray, Dodge Ram, Dodge Viper, Sunbeam Tiger, Triumph Stag, Buick Skylark, Reliant Robin.
Yeah,
of course.
Can I throw a curve?
Aston Martin Signet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Aston Martin Bulldog.
Ford seemed to do loads with horses. So you've got Mustang, but they also had Bronco and Pinto, which are both horses as well. Mitsubishi Colt, another horse. Alfa Romeo Spider. Austin Healey Frog Eye Sprite was another one I thought. And then there's the famous story with the Mitsubishi Starion, which was the Starion is supposed to be, it was supposed to be somebody's mispronunciation of stallion. And so the Japanese put, Starion. And then,
Cammie, you said...
There's a Hyundai Pony as well.
Oh, yeah, Hyundai Pony, of course.
Yeah. Again, another strapping name for a car when everyone else is producing Mustangs and even Colt. And then you come along with Pony. Cammie, you said you had a curveball to throw in there.
Yeah. Points if anyone guesses why, but the Volkswagen Golf.
Oh,
because
the
of
Rabbit.
Rabbit.
Yeah,
Rabbit.
America. Only in America.
Version of Rabbit.
And I've never understood why they renamed it. Because they love golf out there.
Yeah.
I thought the Volkswagen Fox was going to pop up once or twice, but I don't think we had that
thought
one.
about that.
Don't bring that up. Do not bring that up.
Oh, really? All right. You like my left field one, right? I don't know if you could see that. That is a prototype by Volvo. You'll like this. That's a Volvo prototype from '52, and it was called Philip. The Volvo Philip. And my left field was, I used to have a cat called Philip, so...
Does it work? Because I'll take it.
No, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work.
There's another one. I don't know if you want to Google it. Very beautiful looking car, actually. Very old car. Talking about old ones. White Eagle, Kizel. I don't know how you pronounce that properly. And just have a look at that little beauty.
What was it called? Sorry, Elaine,
White Eagle, and it's Kizel or Kisel.
Okay.
I've got one for Simon. I want to know if he even knows about it. But do you know about Bill Thomas's Chevrolet Cheetah?
Yeah, I do know about the Cheetah, actually. I don't know if it counted, though, because there wasn't the spelling different. And that's how I thought that, because there's no H on the end. So I don't know if it counted. That was another one of my left field ones.
If Nia can have Dino, I think you can drop the H off the end of Cheetah. That's fine. Yeah.
And if you're going to include arachnids, you could always do Grinnell Scorpion as well. That's another niche one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do we think names are
Cars named after arachnids? And there's a niche Google search, isn't it?
No, you got loads of cars that are called the Spider, haven't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Spider,
good
McLaren,
shout.
Spider, Ferrari got Fiat as well. They've all used the name Spider.
Wasn't there a Scarab too? Well,
Oh,
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
it rings a
is
bell.
that-
That'd need a Google to sort out. Yeah.
Did anyone say Opel Manta? That's both fish
No.
and animal, isn't
Yeah.
it? Just thought of that.
I've just looked up Say Leon. What's it? I'm trying to
Oh, of
think
course.
what
It's,
animal
yeah, it's a
And-
lion. Yeah.
Leon's a line, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Simple as that.
I always just thought of it as a guy's name, Leon.
Mm.
Yeah. There you go.
Do we think for
Well,
modern?
you got the Volvo
Leon
Philip.
Sayer.
You got the Volvo Philip, haven't you?
That's
Good lad.
going to be another topic then at some point. Cars
There
with
was-
just normal
there was
everyday
one.
people names.
There was
We
one
did
that
with
was
the
very
Japanese, it was
racing
Cedric and
car. There was one very racing car looking, but I couldn't find it while we were all chatting, and I thought that would be something Cammie would have picked, but
Was it the Wolf? Because there was a old race team.
I don't know. I can't remember. I was just trying to find it rapidly while we were all talking.
All
but-
right, all right. Oh, very good. Some great selections there. What do we think generally then, overall, is the greatest car named after? I mean, I think Near, obviously, he took it on a bit of a tangent, but it was obviously a fantastic car. We can't argue that Beth actually named a fantastic car after an animal, so that's got to be a contender as well. But then other things like the Cobra and stuff. What do we reckon? If you
I'm
had to...
going with Dave and the Panda. I didn't even think of Panda, but if we're talking about great cars,
Yeah.
in genuine terms, it doesn't
Ridiculous,
necessarily
isn't
be a car. And I'm going to go with the original Panda. The Panda is a great car. That's a great
Yeah, yeah.
piece of car design.
Panda or Mustang, I think those two are sort of the
Mustang.
really, anyone, even if you're not really into cars, you go, oh, that's a Panda or that's a Mustang,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That was going to be my question. I wondered if for modern cars, if names are evocative anymore, are we best placed to use numbers and letters than try to come up with a character?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Yeah, I mean, is there a car right now which has a really evocative name? What was that, Lewis?
That's a red and green question right there.
Well, I was actually going to suggest that.
Okay, you can ask the question then, Naomi. How
I've got
you
to
want
think
to word
I'm going
it.
to think how to phrase it properly. But
Yeah,
I would say for a modern car, a name is more evocative than letters. So green would be a name and red would be for letters.
Yeah.
Even as a 205 GTI owner, I've got to agree with you.
It's really hard. I say, as somebody who has to do it relatively often, coming up with new names for vehicles that haven't been taken before, and that it's
Yeah. Well, you can always ask us if you want us to just chuck random words at you, like Philip.
I like the Jumpy as a name.
Jumpy.
Is it
What
the
was that? Who made
Citroen
Yeah.
Jumpy in
Yeah.
France and whatnot, which is always amuses me because the one word that you wouldn't want to describe any kind of motor vehicle is jumpy. You want smooth and sophisticated and gliding, not jumpy.
Yeah.
Then old British
Definitely
cars
have-
had names like Princess, didn't they? So
Yeah.
We definitely have a bad names for cars episode. I think that would be a really
Was it? I don't know whether this is an urban myth or whether it be true, but I was told many years ago that the Toyota MR2 had to be called something different in France because, of course, MR2 is shit.
very true.
Yeah.
It's just called the MR.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, just called the MR because merde is a
Same as Nova in Spanish means doesn't work or doesn't go. So they had to change the name of Novas in Spain. or in
Pajero
Spanish.
as well.
Interesting.
Is that
Connected
why the Nova became
connected
the
to animals. The Duke means cockroach in Hebrew. And here, everybody kind of assumes that the Nissan Duke, but kind of it looks like it's got a bit of a cockroach. You look for it, and it often surprises people here to find out that Duke doesn't mean cockroach in other countries because they assume that the car is named after the cockroach.
That would have been the best curveball for the
Yeah, the Nissan
what we
Duke.
just about.
I've actually found a really beautiful looking car. I'm assuming it's sort of tarantula, Tuantara. 331 mile per hour, officially the fastest car in the world, and it looks beautiful as well, actually.
Wow.
SSC Tarantula.
Tarantula.
Right.
Well, also, I've just realised we're talking about car numbers, and I was thinking about my car, and then I realised that actually even Elon with Tesla, the letters and numbers of Tesla are spelled out sexy.
Yeah.
I mean, because he is actually a 16-year-old boy in a man's body, but yeah. So even now, they're still trying to make things out of names using the letters and numbers.
They are, and the seemingly random Lotus Evija. Have you guys cottoned onto what's called the Evija? Because you in the rearview mirror when you see it come towards you. If you haven't seen what Evija is backwards in the mirror, then yeah, it's something to Google.
I think we need to Google cars that look like animals, because it's really funny. There's one that looks like a frog and there's one that looks like a tiger.
What rabbit hole are you down there, LA? I dread to think what's on your Google search history.
Now. I've lost myself in some wormhole, some rabbit.
Yeah. I'm glad the Escargot came up recently as well, because it just, that name works on so many levels because of the shape of the thing, the fact that it's a cargo vehicle. It's just like, yeah, that was a great shout. But yeah, so some fantastic things on there. Any final shouts before we wrap it up for the month? Is there anything else that you guys would like?
I've got to decide on what colour the Chevette is going to be.
Brown.
Okay. Yeah, is it brown at the moment?
Well, it's grey at the moment. It's obviously in primer at the moment, so I've got to decide what colour the Chevette goes back to.
I always think of it as being, I associate Chevettes as being a sort of rusty orange colour.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay. Do you know what I mean? You know, if I was to quickly draw one, that's the colour that it would be. Just
yeah, kind of metallic brown.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. And if you take those colours that are kind of almost associated with sort of older rusty cars, and then you freshly apply it to a car, that does look spectacular.
Yeah.
Does look cool. What's the plan for the Chevette then? What's the next steps for you?
Next step, well, the axle is currently near Heathrow. The car is in Coventry. So those two need to meet to make it any kind of working car. I don't think going down to Heathrow is an essential journey at the moment.
Yeah.
The company rang me the other day and said, "What colour are you going to take it back to?" So I've got to decide whether it has an essence of what original colour with a bit of a twist. I've just got to decide what.
Ironically, Damien's jumper is not dissimilar to the colour that we're looking for.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just
take a screenshot.
You just take him in and colour match him.
Load it with metal flake. Sorted.
Yeah. Ian, we could ask our social media followers. We could put it out to them. If you've got some suggestions, chat to me online, and maybe if you've got some suggestions, we can put it to a vote for people online and see what people think. If you want,
just make it a poll of brown.
Yeah.
This
dark
brown,
light brown,
shiny brown,
really dark burnt orange.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Shades of cups of tea, where it goes.
Ian, how about a nice burnt umber?
I think it's got to have a little bit of a metallic-y feel to it. It's got to have a little bit of a sheen to it.
Yeah, I'll put a bit metallic with it, but burnt umber is a beautifully rich, it's a lovely paint colour, isn't it? So.
And a few pinstripes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Go faster. So you're not going to go full pop band colour over it again?
No. It's got to have on the back of it. It's got to have "Shove It Chevette" in like fancy italic writing, because I want it
classy.
I want it to have "Shove It Chevette" on the back. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay, we'll look out for that. But yeah, Chris, I'm sure you can whip up a poll for that.
If anyone's got anything else for social media as well, if there's anything that they want to share or anything, just message me, let me know, and I'll post it up on our social media pages.
Thanks,
excellent. Dave, what's next for you then? What's happening in the months to come?
We've got the next Fueling Around series to get going. We've got a few other projects on the go. It's just a podcast, basically. Just, I pretty much 24/7 podcast office in my converted box room is what I do. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say that there's many weeks when the first time I go out is on a Thursday to put the bins out, because there's very little other reason to go anywhere other than going to the co-op to buy more wine and beer, which is the other essential. But aside from that, no, it's I'm just very lucky to be working. I think there's so many people that have been struggling in the last 12 months. So I just consider myself very lucky to still have an income source at the moment. So long may that continue.
Excellent. So what ones are out at the moment that we can listen to? Because you were doing one with Dr. Christian.
Dr. Christian, yeah, that's been put on ice for the moment for reasons that I'll tell you off the air.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, this is old versions of that. Fueling Around is probably the one that's most up your street, I would imagine. That's the one that me and Plato do.
Are you allowed to say who's going to be on it this time round, or are you still kind of get people, or is it all going to be revealed?
Give you some. I could tell you what our wish list is if you really want, because actually some of you might have contacts for them. Where is it? So, in no particular order, the next series may include 8 from the following list: Tim Peake, Jerry Halliwell, Martin Brundle, Melvin O'Doom, Joe Wood, Paddy McGuinness, Vernon Kay, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Howard Donald, Carol Vorderman, and Nikki Shields.
Okay, Nikki Shields we might be able to sort out. Naomi's nodding away. I was going to be looking at Naomi and saying Nikki might be easy to sort out. Well,
so anyway, that's our little sort of sketched wish list at the moment. So any 8 out of those would be terrific. So just nice to have a chat, and we just talk first cars and dad's cars, and just anything really car related that we can all do. So it's a fun one.
And it'll be with JP.
Sorry, say again.
Sorry, I was just going to say the resurgence of podcasting, I think, is such a great thing. I mean, we're talking here about TikTok as well at the same time. I suppose podcasting is one of the last bastions of long form conversation, and which as is this, which is effectively a podcast. And I suppose even for the journalists in the room, the interest in long form pieces still being there is really important,
It's surprising, isn't it? Don't you think that the fact that, especially when you make the mention there of TikTok and whatnot, and you sort of assume, especially with the younger audience, that actually it's all about quick, in and out, just bite-sized sort of content. Yet podcasts are incredibly popular, and it sort of goes against everything that you would imagine of teenagers and 20-somethings, I think, in terms of their behavior, but they are popular, which is a good thing.
But it's even the same if you look at that. If you do look at that kind of generation, you look at gaming, then you can watch a 4-hour stream of somebody playing a very simple game. It's the kind of thing I do. I just think it's great that sort of level of patience, and I think it's about comfort ultimately, isn't it? And familiarity.
Yeah.
Well, talking of podcasts, I think LA, you've got some lined up, haven't you? Coming soon?
They're not really podcasts. They are Zoom.
Of course, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they're going to be on air like this. So it's to do with Formula One and Motorsport UK, and it's interviewing the women of Formula One, and it's called An Evening With, and that started tonight with Rosanna Tennant, and I take tomorrow night interviewing 2 top ladies that work within Formula One, and then I think it's the 24th that I interview Alexa Quinton from Formula 2, and also we've got our wonderful hospitality. We've got Lucy coming along as well. So there's lots of women going to be coming along explaining their job, which is fantastic. For you. There's sort of an impression that there aren't many women especially in Formula One, because you see it on the TV, every couple of weeks. And I guess in the pit and the paddock, there still probably isn't enough from a female point of view. But that's not obviously the whole story, because there are many other positions out there that, there might be a girl sat at home that actually wants to be a lawyer. She doesn't want to be working as an engineer in a pit, but she can still be a lawyer and work within motorsport if that's her passion. So there's going to be lots of these ladies that are behind the scenes. This isn't drivers, at all, or front of house. This is ladies that are behind the scenes. They're explaining their jobs, and and even people will be looking to me too, because I'm in Formula 2, but I am freelance. I've been involved with the FIA before interviewing, and obviously we even do this. We're even part of this as part of the motorsport community. So I'll highlight the Zoomers and highlight my own things that I get involved with. And even how I accidentally fell into it all, you know, in my own story will come out too. So yeah, I start mine tomorrow at 6:30, and all the details are either on my social media or F1 Motorsport UK or FIA Girls on Track. So they're all on their social media too, like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So that's tomorrow. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, good. Well,
I wanted to throw in as well, real quick, if that's all right, that I know we don't have Craig and we always have this factoid off him, which is always really interesting. And this isn't really a factoid, it's just a fact if you've not caught up with today's news. But a couple of years ago, there was a very awful, tragic accident at Spa where one of the drivers, Antoine Hubert, lost his life. And Juan Manuel Correa also was severely injured with life-changing injuries, and he's announced today that he's coming back into motor racing. He's going to be driving for Art Grand Prix in the Formula 3 this coming season, which is amazing that this guy has rehabilitated so quickly in the time that's passed since his accident. And, you know, I know all too well about accidents, and mine was absolutely nothing compared to his. So it's just great to welcome him back into the sport as well. And of course, he'll be championing a bit of diversity too now he's back, because, you know, I guess he's flying the disability flag too, you know, which is what he kind of wants to represent that community a little bit. So yeah, so well done to Juan Manuel Correa. So that's a bit of a fact, not quite a factoid.
Yeah, a fantastic way to end the ZoomZoomers for this episode this month. Now, luckily, with February being very kind and sticking to just exactly 4 weeks, it means that the next one will be on the 1st of March. So easy to plan, Monday the 1st of March, and hopefully we'll have a lot of you along for that to then have a chat about what's happened over the month of February, LA's podcast and Zoom calls. Love to catch up on that as well. But for now, I'd like to just thank everyone for coming. Beth for her first time on ZoomZoomers, Dave for being our special guest. And I think that wraps it up for this time round. So we've gone way over the hour. Of course we have. We always go well over the hour. But it's been fantastic to see you all again. It always brings a smile to my face, and hopefully people are still enjoying watching along. If you are watching along live, or if you're watching back, of course, there's a subscribe button at the bottom. We'd love it if you hit that. Obviously, leave comments and all that kind of thing. It really, really helps us to get the word out there to different people, and share it on your social media. Hopefully you've enjoyed us talking about cars with the names of animals and some weird and wonderful things in there. And it's been great to see the guys back, some who haven't been on here for a while, and some of the regulars as well. But for now, I think that's it for this time round. And I'd like to thank everyone once more, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much.